Hey, I'm Siege. So I wanted to tell you about a nonprofit that I would like to nominate for Project for Awesome. It's a group called Half Access, and their main goal is to increase accessibility in live music. In the local and the DIY spaces especially, we have a lot of conversations about inclusivity and diversity and increasing those things. But unfortunately, most of the time, those conversations don't include people with different levels of ability. And that sucks. Until I met Cassie, it never crossed my mind that there are people who are different than I am who would love to come see live music and get the same things that I get out of it. And since seeing Cassie start Half Access and seeing the database that they're running grow, it's really inspired me to try and help in any way I can. So I've started asking venues that I book and promoters that try and book me if the venue that I'll be playing is accessible. And a lot of times they don't even understand what I'm asking. They'll ask I'll have to say is it ADA compliant or accessible, or would someone in a wheelchair be able to get into the venue? And it just blows my mind how people who run a venue cannot even know what accessibility means. There's actually a really funny story that an old friend from Alaska told me. There's this band called Portugal the Man, who's arguably the biggest band to come out of Alaska. And they won a Grammy this year. And at the award show, they found out that they won 20 minutes before it was officially announced, because they have a person who uses a wheelchair in their band. And the producer of the show had to go over to them before it was announced that they had won and be like, hey, so we're gonna need to get you guys on stage in about 20 minutes, and we gotta figure out how we're gonna do that. And it just blew my mind that an event as big as the Grammys didn't even think about accessibility, even though Portugal the Man was nominated for an award. I guess I've come from a place of pretty strong privilege on the subject, and it's really shocking how ignored differently abled people are in our conversations, especially today when there's a lot of effort being put towards being inclusive and being respectful. And Half Access is doing a lot to change that, and it's really, really cool to see. They've also got a database online for people with disabilities so that they can look up venues that they're interested in going to and find out what to expect, what numbers to call, people who have had experiences there prior. It's an awesome resource, and I think the activities that they're doing to increase awareness about accessibility are really important. So I think they're really deserving of the signal boost and the fundraising efforts of Project for Awesome. If you agree with me, please vote for them. Thank you so much for taking part in this. It's such a cool thing. I'm really glad to be making my first video for Project for Awesome and for it to be for Half Access. So, thanks guys. Don't forget to be awesome.
Hi, my name is Cassie Wilson, and I'm the founder of Half Access. Just want to say big thanks to Siege for wanting to work with us on this Project for Awesome video. They wanted to submit Half Access last year, but we didn't get our 501c3 approval until this year, so we are really excited to be making our first video for Project for Awesome. I just wanted to share real quickly why I started Half Access. I use a wheelchair when I go to shows, and after a few years of going to shows and subjecting myself to the front row, I grew tired of sacrificing my safety for a good view. Not only was I frustrated about my safety at shows, but I was also frustrated about the safety issues that my friends with disabilities were experiencing. A lot of my friends have invisible disabilities, which means that they don't use mobility aids, and there's nothing that can visually cue someone that this person might be disabled. And so there was a lot of venues who just didn't believe that they were disabled, and so they have not been accommodated. And I just grew really frustrated. And when I was going to shows, I started asking venues, is there somewhere else that I can watch the show where I can both be able to see and be safe? And a lot of them didn't even know what I meant by the question. And for those venues that did have accessible seating areas, it was obvious that they were set up by people who were not disabled because most of them had no view of the stage or they were unsafe. But for most venues, they didn't even have an accessible seating area. After a few months of frustration and being left feeling powerless, I decided that I needed a productive outlet. So I started Half Access to make change for not only myself, but for everyone who's affected by accessibility at concerts. Music should bring people together. For most people who go to concerts, we're there to forget about the outside world for a little while. But disabled people are often being reminded of the inaccessibility and ableism that also exist outside those walls. Everyone should be able to safely enjoy concerts. We hope you'll join us in our mission. Let's make live music accessible.
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 If you'd like to support Half Access, you can vote for us at projectforawesome.com from December 7th through December 9th. If you'd like to get more involved in our efforts, you can find, submit, and review accessibility information at halfaccess.org, and you can follow us on social media at Half Access. Don't forget to be awesome.